Hello, this is Dale Matthews. This is Inside News. This is Wednesday, and this is Mike Jones.
Yeah. Hey, are you trying to tell me that I may soon be paid for my services?
No, it means that somebody's being paid for their services.
Oh,
Yeah, buddy. Okay, so it's about cronyism. I don't really like the word very much because it sounds so strange, but it is tonight's show is about today's weekly business session, and it centered around a number of people came because they objected to the appointment of one particular person to the budget committee. Again, the reappointment, and that's Jim Brumbach. Mike, you want to refresh our viewers who don't know who Jim Brumbach is, who that guy?
I can't exactly do a "this is your life" Jim Brumbach here, but he was on the budget committee last year, and he was also involved. He's a big levy pusher, has been, I guess, for some time, and during the last levy cycle, his name was mentioned. When Mark Goins was telling people that if you don't, suck up to government and listen to and do everything they say, that you're a Satan worshiper, Jim Brumbach was waiting there to sign people up for, joining the levy pusher crowd or something.
Yeah, and the pastor mentioned him by name, saying, we got Jim Brumbach up here, and he will explain things to you, as I've said every time, about the life of Jesus? No, about the levy.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jim. So Jim is considered by, Jim Brumbach is considered by some people to be the keys to the kingdom to get mega church endorsements for candidates. And he's made contributions to the current commissioners. We make our own contributions in the way of advice about what to do. One, get out of office. Two, stop promoting levies when people tell you that they don't want, and a variety of those kinds of things. Also, there is general acknowledgement by a number of people that although Simon Hare's re-election campaign chairman was someone that nobody recognizes, nobody ever heard of, nobody ever sees, it was actually Jim Brumbach. Now, is that true? I don't know. But there are a number of people who are absolutely convinced that that's the case. And that wouldn't be unusual for our area. It wouldn't be unusual that it was or wasn't. Okay, I get it. But there are a number of power brokers behind the scenes who would really appreciate not being identified. One reason why at county commissioners meetings, they hate it when I mention people's names because they're now being identified. And I've been asked to sit down more than once simply by mentioning somebody's name. Well, that's out of order. That's disruptive. That's what? Why? You know why. So one of the things that was said is, why is it that Jim Brumbach is being put back on the budget committee? Because 5 out of 6 of the people on the budget committee are very strongly pro-levy and therefore against a majority of the people in this county. That's mathematically proven. And so there was some fuss about this because didn't you just say that there were 2 openings, and one of them being Pat Fahey leaving, who was in charge of the levy push? And so why didn't you put them both up, or give people a chance to at least say that we'd like to be on there? And not like you're ever going to pick them, but why would you do that? And here is the best that we could do with the best audio we could do from this morning's meeting. We'll improve this audio and give you a better version of parts of this. Go ahead, Mike, and let's hear what Simon has to say about that.
For the opening on the budget committee where we made the appointment of Ms. Goodwin and Mr. Brumbach, those were all advertised as required, and there were several applications received, and it goes through the process of the board making a determination who's in the minds of the board members sitting presently, who's the best qualified to represent the people on the issue of the budget committee, and that was determined being Mr. Brumbach, and he has sought reappointment, and the board has agreed in the administrative meeting to move that forward for reappointment here today. It wasn't advertised, and I think it's typical for us to do 2 appointments or reappointment, 1 reappointment to the board after they serve a 3-year term, as it's outlined. One of the reasons is that our budget is somewhat complicated, and it's really great to have somebody, much like the Rural Planning Commission, to serve 2 opportunities because you'd appreciate that information, that ability, that knowledge. And so.
All right. Now, wait a second. There's 3 different things at least. One is the budget is so complicated. It is? No, it's not. And if it's complicated, if it was, which it's not, then uncomplicate it because we're the bosses and we should understand what's in it. It's so complicated that you need to pick the same person over and over and over again for a decade because he could be in for a decade. Well, 9 years out of 10. Mike, on that?
And you know, they're the quality of this audio is such that he's a lot of in the, and so I couldn't discern what he was saying in some places, like the length of the term. It sounded like 2-year term, but it's
a 3-year term.
Oh, 3-year. Okay.
So this guy, all right, so there he is, and so they're going to reappoint him. There were a number of people in the community, such as Peggy Goodwin, who's on there now. Is she going to be reappointed? Yeah, right. Without even, oh, well, let's just do that. Sure. Well, she knows a lot about it, but I don't know if we want to reappoint her because she's not for a levy. Yeah. And so what they're going to try to do.
Her video got a lot of play last time, and it's what made the issue of road dollars be a bug in their ear for months after that. So
that's right. And so there are people who are concerned that if you have the same people in there every time, that it's not. What he's saying, it was determined, he determined that this guy is representative of the community. What? By comparing his stand on what the community thinks about levies and such things? That's what makes him representative of the community? Is that right? Well, gee, I've got a majority of people who say that's not representative of what we think. It is representative of people who donate to the commissioner's campaigns.
Yeah, okay.
That was sense. Not Peggy Goodwin. Yeah, not her. Go ahead. Let him say a little bit more.
That was my reasoning that we were going to make that reappointment. And it's ironic for people to say that it's okay for people to disagree and to have alternative positions, but once they do, then they can't be reappointed. I find that ironic. You know, I don't put these people on any committee or board because I agree with them 100% of the time. Otherwise, we really wouldn't need advisory committees at all. Because I actually have.
Now, wait a minute. They never disagree. Jim Brumbach never disagrees with these guys. So what's this tack he's going off? Well, you know, if you have someone that you don't agree with, this is entirely irrelevant. Jim Brumbach never does that.
It's something they just say, and he knows that generally speaking, that's not ever going to meet actual scrutiny, where somebody's going to go, well, wait a minute here, let's take a look and see, you know, how that went. He knows that's not going to happen, so you know, he's free to throw stuff like that out there.
That's right. Next. Yeah.
Probably disagree with myself more than anybody else on this board, or I can at least argue both sides of the point not to do. I think that discourse is a good thing, and just because Mr. Brumbach disagreed with Ms. Goodwin, I don't see that as a reason to not reappoint him. I think he's certainly
I do.
What?
And he shows up at every meeting prepared, as Ms. Goodwin does on the Rural Planning Commission as their chair, and every other
Planning Commission.
I respect both of their opinions equally. I just didn't agree with Ms. Goodwin, and for reasons that I've outlined during the Budget Committee hearings, but I think it's really important when other counties are referenced, or the state provision for counties that are in fiscal distress to access road dollars under 4175.
What?
That is given, we were not initially in the 7 counties that were provided that opt-out or opt-in provision years ago. We had, that happened through the legislature only recently. And we're not like every other county with road reserves. We have roughly $3 million of road reserves. I'll just give you the short list of the neighboring counties. Curry County has roughly 30 million.
Yeah. So what?
Well, okay. First, just so that you know, he slides straight from one subject into another, and you think,
Yes. Right.
what does this sentence have to do with it? It doesn't have anything to do with it.
Well, that's because he's arguing both sides of the topic. See, he told us he could
Which
do
often
that.
does. That's right. That's right. Yes, he often does. Now, what was that number he just said about how much money we have in the road reserve? He said $3 million. $3 million. Now, wait a minute. This is like the sixth number that we've heard. That's and the road dollars, the amount that's in there has just been cut in half all of a sudden. 3 million. What happened to the other 3 million that was in there?
Right. And what happened to the million that gets added to it every year? You know,
right.
I guess it hasn't been added yet for this year. So,
sure, just hasn't been added yet for this year.
Well, and right, and he did say something earlier that you know, something like he didn't think that it was reason enough to not reappoint the guy because he disagreed with Peggy Goodwin. I think that is sufficient reasoning personally, but I may be biased.
Well, he's disagreeing. What he is he's disagreeing with the majority of the population. Okay, so you just certainly can't have him in there just because most of the people don't want that kind of thinking. You need to have 5 out of 6 that are thinking all the same way, and that way the commissioners feel comfortable. You see, you subtract 2 of these people, this guy and go ahead. You subtract 2 of the commissioners that are up, and then you will have 3 people that are saying, no, we don't want additional property taxes, and 3 who are saying, yes, we do. Okay. We're not half and half in this county, but that's pretty close. You know, you're not going to get a sixth of a person or something, but yeah, but no, they've got to stack the deck, and they're stacking the deck with someone who is a mover and shaker in the re-election of these guys. And so, of course, they're going to pick him. The wonder is that they picked Peggy Goodwin at all. What, was Keith Eck asleep or something? I mean, well, okay, yeah. So, sure, now he's talking about yet another subject, and it's good to listen fast. Sorry about the quality of the audio. We'll do better. I just came in from a city council meeting. You know, there was only so much time to get this to you. But now the amount in there is $3 million. I don't think so. I think they're just saying anything that will make it sound better. Well, the amount's 50 cents. People ask us all the time, can you tell me what the number is for this and that? And, you know, the answer is, well, we can tell you what they said today, but that keeps changing. It was 6, now it's 3. Good luck in figuring out what's going on. And as Simon Hare said to me, it's going to cost you a lot of money to find out what we're doing. So that's why we run this top quality show with the lower quality audio. Go ahead, Mike.
Klamath County has $80 million. Douglas has close to $100 million in their reserve. There's a very good reason why we don't rob from Peter to pay Paul out of the road reserve. Brother. We don't have the same road reserves that other counties who are taking advantage of that do, for whatever reason. And we looked at, just over this last weekend, we had a slide on the Galise-Merlin Road, 500 cubic yards of material is blocking a road. That possibility could have happened on Applegate. It could have happened anywhere in this county. If we have a major catastrophe that doesn't qualify for FEMA dollars, it's our own reserves of where we go to get the money to either hire outside contractors, repair a road, replace a bridge. And
so I asked him afterwards, how much of the road reserve money went into that slide? He didn't answer.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm not going to answer that question. Yeah, well, it's quite right that if we don't qualify for FEMA dollars,
and probably nothing.
Yeah, if we don't qualify for state dollars or FEMA dollars or universal, you know, Milky Way dollars, it's certainly possible that we would have to take that out of the reserve. right? Sure, we would. Okay, so the question is, that's going to build up and up and up. You know what they're doing with it, because we already told you. They want a certain amount in reserve so that they can get a higher rating from Moody's. And why do they want a higher rating from Moody's? So they can borrow money. This is what's in our future. That's why there must be this huge reserve. That's why some grandma is being killed over in Cave Junction, because we can't, we're not giving more money to the emergency situation so that we can have money in the roads fund for emergency striping or emergency, you know, road erosion or whatever, so that they have a larger amount of money. And I mean,
yeah.
Well,
yeah, you know what? I hate that argument when the sheriff makes it, and I don't like it just about as much when you're trying to make it here in this particular situation. Okay. I think that's a bogus argument.
Yeah, I think it is too. That's why I'm saying it that way.
That people are getting murdered because, listen, people get murdered, and generally speaking, people that murder people are not thinking about the legal consequences of it, or whether or not there's a sheriff on patrol in the same town they're in. You know, that's
well, I saw this great picture the other day, and it said it was posted on Facebook. It appeared shortly and then was drowned out by lost pets and lost souls. And this one had a picture of a big yard sale, and it says, why do they have so many yard sales in Cave Junction?
Right.
So the people of Grants Pass can buy back their belongings.
Yeah, that's that. I saw that, and that's feeds right into the levy narrative there.
It does. But I've talked to a couple of people in Cave Junction about that, and they laughed and laughed. Well, it's a little bit funny, and you can laugh at things that aren't exactly to your benefit. Okay, let's laugh at this, which is not exactly to our benefit, that Simon Harris said today.
Mm-hmm.
So $3 million is a pittance when you look at what it costs to repave a road or build a bridge. That'll be done overnight, so to speak. That reserve would be nothing. And then people would be clamoring, how come you didn't put money away for these unforeseen catastrophes that happen on a pretty routine basis, where we have flooding or other things happen in Joseph County. So I believe there isn't adequate reserves in the road fund to steal or borrow. We've already borrowed $425,000 that we have not had the fiscal capacity to repay. And that isn't a very good track record for me. I think as Mr. Ford said it, this is not a short-term fix, but it's prolonging the inevitable, which I don't believe in. That's just the way we need to go. Mr. Collier's point about not appointing somebody based on a recall effort, that was not the reason cited in the meeting, and I encourage you to take another look at it, which I'm going to do as well.
Okay, here's the fun part of the show. You know, I love to do this. You all know what I love more than anything else. When a politician says, I will never, ever, ever back a levy, and then we've got him another tape saying, well, I'd love to give it the good old college try. Boy, did he hear a mouthful about that one. So here's Simon Harris, and what did he just say? Well, Mr. Collier, now, Mark Collier got a bunch of the details wrong. I mean, he was just dead wrong on a bunch of stuff. But he did bring up the idea of this video that you guys have seen. We're going to play it back for you. And Simon, you could just see that he was astounded that, first of all, anyone to bring this up because he didn't know this had been posted. This was about a year ago. And second, that anybody that would say anything about it. And second, what is he going to respond? So his response, you could really see he was alarmed. So the county's cameras don't point at a commissioner because he's alarmed. They would point anywhere but at the commissioner when he's alarmed. But you could see that he was, and he's thinking, what can I say? What can I say? What can I say? And then you see him doing scribbling like Cheryl Walker does, 1,000 miles an hour, and trying to figure out what he's going to say. So what he just said was, well, but that's not what happened. Now, let's see if he's right, Mike.
There's probably nothing more important than our Rural Planning Commission. It's the only one who's quasi-judicial and actually can make decisions outside the purview of the board. None of our other commissions actually get to make decisions. They make recommendations to the board. The other two members that had responded to this, one is not controversial standings with the board is a member who has instigated in political activity in a considered to be possibly challenging for this board. So that one of the persons is involved in the potential recall of Commissioner Walker. I don't feel that's the right time for that person to probably engage with the board and having a position to be reflective of the community.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so a couple of ironies about this. One is, at that same time, Simon Hare was going into Hardwoods Plus and talking to the people that were the place where the signature sheets were being collected, and encouraged them to continue, go and do that, to oust Cheryl Walker. Oh, yes. And so, interesting thing for him to say that someone that's involved with the recall should probably not be interfacing with the board, and definitely should not be selected to be on a committee, because that's not reflective of the community. So here's the question to you, Mike Jones. Do you believe that Simon Hare is reflective of the community?
Yeah, I don't think he is, and that's one of the reasons why he's being recalled. Listen, I think Simon is one of many that walk around and quietly advocate for the levy while they say publicly, well, we don't have anything to do with that because that would be wrong for us to inject our opinion into that or whatever. And so he's going to appoint people that he thinks are beneficial to the end that he desires.
The other thing that he said here very clearly on this tape was that the person that was applying, it doesn't matter who it is, the person that was applying was involved with the recall, and that would not be a good thing. And he mentioned that. Did he mention 5 other things? No, he did not. Now let's hear his explanation of what's on the tape that you just saw. This is delicious.
The reason that it was cited for not appointing the last applicant to that committee was because they're seeking office. And I think that's a precedent set far in excess of what's going on right now. We have never done that. Appointed somebody to a committee because they're seeking the elected office as a commissioner. There are other options. If you want to do it before you're running, that's great. If you're running a campaign and then you want to sign up to serve the county in a volunteer capacity, there is a small chance that maybe your input could be impacted a little by the fact that you're seeking this office.
You know what? Who would say? And probably there are some people that would say that the sitting commissioner, perhaps their motives are questionable when it comes to this sort of thing. Can people actually not operate in accordance with their political inclinations? It's a nice thing to say that perhaps they could control that, but generally speaking, I think we actually expect people to do that. And so we're better off if we're hiring people with the inclinations that are in agreement with our own. It may well be that somebody that wants to be on the budget committee has a political axe to grind. I'm guessing that a lot of the people that he appoints have a political axe to grind, but they're grinding his axe, so that's okay.
Oh boy, that euphemism bothers me, but okay, I'm going to take it the way that you mean it. Look, the point is that he just said to get out,
yes,
to escape scrutiny, He just
Thank you,
said,
as opposed to the way that, you know.
right, there's a lag here, so my jokes are not working most of the time anyway, and now there's a long lag. Look, he just said to escape
Yes.
scrutiny, to
Yes,
get
now
out.
the timing's really bad.
Yes, now it really is. To get out from under, to stop from being held accountable for what he said on this tape. He just made something up. Well, the reason why, you just heard him. The reason why was because that person was running for office. That's not what he said. And I don't know if that person was, but that's not what he said. What he said was because the person's involved in a recall of Cheryl Walker, his buddy, or, you know, at least somebody that's on the, and that's the, you just heard him say it. And now he's saying, oh no, that's because the person was running for office. That is completely false. It helps him escape for a few seconds, but not by the time that this show goes on. Go ahead, Mike.
Do you happen to recall who that person was last time?
No, and if I did, I'd sure tell you, but I don't recall. And that person, and Cheryl wasn't recalled either.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
the
I
best
don't
that I
either.
can do at the moment. But look,
Right.
as I was saying, that's beside the point. We've got tape that shows that he says that we can't pick this person because this person is involved in a recall of one of the commissioners. And he just explained his way out of it on live cable TV that hardly anybody watches. More people watch this show every night than watch their show for a month. But okay, so I guess he figured he'd get out from under that, but not by the time we come on, because we're telling you, no, that's not what he said. And you could see it for yourself. That's the fun part of this job. You put this guy up with this guy, and he's arguing with himself. It was a lie. It was a lie. That's not the reason he gave. Well, I'll go look at the tape, and you should too, but here's the reason. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. As Darren Fowler says, that we're always saying, nope, nope, no. That's not what he said. It was a lie.
Yeah.
He was just trying to get out from under it. He's hoping nobody will bring it up again. It sounded good at the time. What difference does it make if it's the truth? Okay, let's hear more from this guy that's lying to us.
Yes.
And I don't believe that serves the best interest of everyone considered. And so, Ms. Childs, I'm excited to talk to you about what we have as possibilities coming forward in our transit department. The reauthorization is something we've been waiting for almost my entire term. We've been doing one-year reauthorizations of the Federal Transit Trust Fund. This was a 6-year reauthorization with 3 years of funding. My goal is to take our fleet and as much of our transit department to natural gas as possible. We have to make baby steps.
Wow, that's gonna be pricey.
Yeah. Yes, and
A natural gas conversion on a bus is not cheap.
and that's not what she was talking about. Who is this Miss Childs? Well, do you guys remember when we were showing you the video when Senator Merkley was here? There was a lady that got up and started talking about liquid natural gas and how it was going to be destroying all of our rivers and our forests, and she was a little over the top on her explanation. And so she got up and she was talking here, as she did at the meeting with Merkley, about electric buses. So she said, I would like to meet with you guys, talk with you guys, get some answers about how soon we're going to be all moving over to electric buses. So Simon Hare decides to answer the lady that doesn't.
Not going to happen.
But he's also answered the lady that doesn't like the idea of natural gas, liquid natural gas. He's decided to answer her on saying that we could transfer our buses not over to electric.
Yes.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, we could tap right into the LNG pipeline as it goes through to power our buses. Yeah.
So here's the suggestion that he gave her, and later Keith Eck was trying to tell everybody, you could come and visit us privately in our offices, and that we could yell at you there. I mean, we could discuss privately with you there, rather than in a public meeting like this. There is nobody that I know that would, again, because everybody's done it at some point or another that I know that has wanted to get information from the commissioners, and they've all said, I'll never, ever go into this guy's office ever again. Never again. And it happened to me too. I went and I talked with Simon about something, and he denied the conversation even took place. It's like talking with Jack Swift. That meeting never happened. That never happened. I never said that. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, I do. And that's a falsehood. So you can deny it up and down if you want to, but it's just completely false. That's all. There's a lot of that going around. Go ahead, Mike.
And that is a far more efficient, or it's a far more eco-friendly fuel source than what we currently use, which is diesel. That's a pet project of mine to move this transit hub from front of the Ambassador, which we saw yesterday with the shredding machine and other congestion. It has the real potential to not be a good thing. Again, I want to thank the Hidden Valley High School kids for coming forward. I think this is a great project, and we're going to see a lot of positives. If we can save one youth's life as a result of this, the pilot project was supposed to stem that. We've lost several people on the Rogue River. It's a treacherous river every year that I'm aware of. Last year,
yeah, he keeps going from one.
Yeah,
it was a transition. That's right. Okay, so the thing about the shredder, they have told these guys with this big shredder truck that parks or double parks in front of the courthouse, don't do that. It's not safe. Okay, don't do that. It's not safe. So here's the question: if the guy comes and does it again, would you keep allowing him to do this, or would you say, look, you've been told a couple of times, you keep doing this thing which is not safe? Larry Graves, you've been told, don't be yelling at citizens, making fun of them and saying F you and this kind of stuff. How many times do you need to tell the commissioners, stop breaking the law, but we're going to do it anyway? How many times do you need to tell these guys, don't do this dangerous or bad or awful or illegal thing before you say goodbye to them? Am I being too hard on these guys?
Yeah.
All right. So now he's talking about, at the beginning of this meeting, there were some students, we've talked about this on the show already, that came from the Future Business Leaders of America, FBLA. And they came and they made a presentation to the commissioners. Their presentation centers around the idea that they would like to have, to supply more free life vests at a couple of different rivers in the area. Sounds like a wonderful thing. They are being stolen, but they would like to supply more of them. They want the county to sign in on this and a memorandum of understanding. Why? The county then is partially responsible, can be held partially responsible in case, pardon me, people have some kind of problem with that life vest, or the life vest not there and they've been told to expect this thing, or maybe they're all out with other people. Hey, we came down there, we were told that this was available by the county told us, and it wasn't available, and that's why Chipper drowned. Yeah, right. Well, so although my personal opinion is you should say, good job, Future Business Leaders of America. You're wonderful young people. Good luck in later life. But we are not going to sign on the bottom line as co-participants in this, because if something happens, the family that's affected by this is going to be looking for the folks with the deepest pockets, and it's not you. We wish you good luck. We're going to give you a blue ribbon, but we're not going to do that.
Yeah, I think that the idea, I mean, to make people expect that you're going to provide them with life vests all the time, that's a little bit. Listen, I have a problem with nanny society stuff to begin with, and I think we go way too far in that department, trying to take care of everybody's needs, make sure everybody's 100% safe 100% of the time. It's impossible to begin with. And so anything that you try to do is putting yourself out there in a way that you may be called on later. Probably not a good idea.
Well, I'm going to take a slightly different view of that, which is one of the nice things about this show is we don't 100% agree on everything. I don't have any objection to a good-hearted organization the steelheaders or lunkheaders. I don't know what they're called, but okay. And these kids and wonderful folks in the area supplying free things to people who like free things or want free things. I've got no problem with that personally.
Now, wow, a little bit of a misrepresentation there.
Not
you're
of
saying,
you.
well, we're taking a different, this is a great thing about this
got to
show.
it.
We can disagree. Well, hang on a second here, because you're making it seem as though somehow I don't advocate for that. That's totally fine. If some private organization wants to do that on their own behalf, that's totally fine. I got no problem.
I haven't
with that.
got to my point yet. And my point
No.
is, I think the main thing is that we don't want the county involved in that in any kind of legal way, because if we say you're doing a great job, we like what you're doing, and we give them a blue ribbon, great. But once we sign a memorandum of understanding saying this is going to be done, and we're tied to you on this, then if something goes wrong, we're going to get sued whether there's any merit to the case or not. And then the citizens are going to have to put up the money to defend ourselves. Where if we just say, well, all we said was, good for you. But once we sign this thing, which they're going to do, or already did with this, I think they already did, then what that means is that we're legally tied with them. So here's what I did. When they came in and they met with the county commissioners on Thursday,
Right.
I said to them, I went out in the hallway and I said, I would like to talk to you about, because these are high school students, but I don't want to do it now because you're minors. And I would rather tell you what the question is going to be. I don't do that, but I said, I'm going to do that. And then you talk it over with your adult supervisor. Okay. Then when the whole meeting was over, I went out and I said, here's the question I'm going to ask you. And I told them the entire question, which is about the legal liability. And right there with them was the lady from the Parks Board, who is not their supervisor, but she wanted to get involved. Okay. And I said the entire question in front of all of them. Here's what I'm going to ask you about the legal liability. Yes, it's a good-hearted project, but should the county be involved in anything which could put it to legal liability? So you just go back and you talk with your counselor, you talk with your parents, you talk with your fellow students, and figure out whether or not you wish to be interviewed on that subject. Okay, and she didn't seem very happy, but they went away looking happy. Okay, so at today's meeting, there they were. And I thought, well, they're not coming up to me and I'm not going to press it, because maybe they've decided they don't want, or they've forgotten, or they're just being polite or whatever. But they had a person with them from that's involved with that group that Hidden Valley High School put together. Sorry, this is so convoluted. About the students that are going to try to do good things in the community. And it's the Josephine County Foundation. And she's an adult. And she says, I have talked with them about this, and they would be delighted to be interviewed. And I reminded her what the subject was, and I told her the whole spiel. She said, that's fine. So at the end of the meeting, we went over to a quiet area where they could be heard. And before I started the tape rolling, I told them the whole question all over again, and the pluses and minuses in my mind. And the parks director, the new parks director, is right there. Okay. So I wanted to be absolutely sure that everybody, and I don't do this. Usually I just say, Simon Hare, how did you get to this meeting? Are you still driving? I'm not going to tell him ahead of time, but these are kids but they're young adults is what they are. They're the smartest kids at their school, and they're future business leaders of America. And they've been warned 6 ways from Sunday, and they've got adults that are right there with them, and I've told them the whole thing. So start the tape rolling, and we'll show you that probably tomorrow or the next day. And so I asked them the question, and the parks director jumps in before they can answer. Well, these are children, and they wouldn't be appropriate to answer such a question. Yeah, I said, well, they're not children. And so that tells you, God bless them. They've got their heart in the right place, but this may not be the right thing for the county to get involved with legally. Mike?
Yeah. So where's the part where you and I are going in separate directions?
I just said my main quandary about this is, should the county be involved in any more than giving them lots of encouragement? Should the county sign on any kind of dotted line? I don't think so. I think that's the main thing. I think what you were saying is, the main, or one of the main things is people shouldn't expect handouts or government to take care of them. I agree with you. I think that even if the government says they want to, the government should not, if there's a chance that someone can sue them later for not supplying it.
Yeah, right. And I do feel that way, but this other scenario is not the government handing them out. It's somebody else.
Yeah, yeah. But the government's involved, and I don't think the government should be involved.
Right. Well, yeah. And why is it necessary for the government to be involved? If some organization who wants to be charitable and hand out life vests to people at the side of the river to make sure everybody's safe, if they come down there and they do that of their own free will, you know, what business is that of anyone else?
And here's another question. Adults have been doing this, and now they're involving school kids. Why? Because the adults can do it. So, I mean, you could say, oh, Dale, you should never ask a question of children. They're not children, first of all. But I did say it in front of the adults several times. They're future business leaders of America. And I've been at their meetings, and they debate everything and much better than a lot of the people you know. And so I said, here's a question for you. Why don't you debate it among yourselves and come back? And if you like, I'll ask you. And I did. And I warned them several times. Oh, so relax on the thing of not asking anybody that's under 30 a question. It's okay to do that. But the real question to me is, who's using these kids and why? What have they got to do with it? I'm glad they're going to do it. But really, what's the purpose of getting school kids involved in this project to try to sell it so the government will sign on the dotted line?
Oh, I don't know. It's probably the same reason why they trot out the children anytime they want to gain some sympathy for something to get it passed by people or government or anybody. And that's kind of, you know, the MO of people that want to get stuff through children.
Well, these are very bright young people, the smartest in their school, and in 1 year or 2 years, they will be voters. And so and because they're future business leaders of America, these guys don't fool around. I mean, go straight ahead. And you can ask them, most of them, questions about anything that's happening in government, and they're going to know the answer better than many of your neighbors do. So they're by no means some babes in the wood or something, although that sounds like fun. Okay, Mike, play a little bit more of this video, please.
I was supposed to 5 to 7, not all related exactly to the water. There were a couple of situations where people were just hiking in the vicinity, but either way, whatever we could do to try to make people's recreation on the Rogue River a little bit more safe and enjoyable, I think we have to take those efforts. It was referenced that we're commending Commissioner Heck and myself for not, basically what we did is we didn't endorse Commissioner Walker's proposal for a levy to send to the voters in May. We didn't vote it down. I didn't support it. I think that that's not a new concept to not support the a la carte funding of a criminal justice system. It's a system. It doesn't work without the DA's office, and it doesn't work without the jail, and it doesn't work without patrols. And so those elements and the juvenile shelter and detention facility, I don't think you can parcel out and understand that you're going to get adequate service as a result. You can have all the patrols in the world and no jail or DA, and you're still going to have people out there every day that are doing crimes and not being prosecuted, not being incarcerated. And it's the same thing with the jail, district attorney, and juvenile shelter detention facility. We have to have a proposal. We have to have a solution that solves all of the issues and simultaneously.
Yeah, right. So basically,
was that the argument that he put up in that meeting? Did you hear him put up that argument in the meeting?
No, but what I heard Simon say just now, right there, was that we didn't support that because Cheryl's dumb, and that was an oversimplified. And we patted her on the head and we said, "Nice try." But you know, it's not enough. You have to have you can't fund it a la carte. You just can't do it.
The thing that they continually overlook is that we're watching them in both meetings. So they say this in the little back room, and what, they think it's not going to get out? Don't they watch this show? We know that they do, but they must not be paying attention, because what Simon Harris said in the little back room is, you'll remember this, this is not the right time for this because there's other things that are going on in the election. And he also said earlier that the people who run on this may not get selected. The good people, he means them, these two, may not get selected if they support this. So he's saying this is the wrong timing. He wasn't saying this is wrong because the 3 or 4-legged stool will collapse. He didn't say that. Now, he may believe that, but that's not what he said. That wasn't the reason they turned it down. You heard the reason he turned it down. He thinks we're not playing this back for you? Well, we've run out of time for tonight's show. There was another thing that Keith X said that was pretty hilarious about the fact that the Government Ethics Commission has not found them guilty in any way. So we'll play that back at a later time, but Mike Jones is going to sum it all up for us and explain what we all need to do now. And this, and he's also going to give us the keys to the kingdom and the meaning of life. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I'm not. That's my summation there. I don't have a great pearl of wisdom for you on this. I just think, okay, this is what you need to know about Simon Hare. It is notable that he took the opportunity to diss on Cheryl while she wasn't there to, snarl back at him. And who knows if she even watches weekly business sessions that she doesn't take part in. You never know. So
there were a number of people that were there that aren't always there. Cheryl wasn't there this time. And when we come back and revisit this issue tomorrow or the next day, we're also going to show you that there are more people in the audience now, at least this time, who are a little disruptive of the meeting. And I don't really like that myself, because getting up and saying, you guys have made a bad decision, that's not disruptive. Actually yelling out from the audience, that's disruptive. But it's now gotten up to such a point. This thing with Jim Brumbach has got so many people upset about it that they've just had it up to here. And Keith was having a hard time in maintaining decorum, like when he calls people names. He has a hard time maintaining decorum because the people are just fed up with these kinds of shenanigans. And the more that he was talking about, well, we've been found guilty of nothing and we're honest, and people just aren't buying it, buddy. They're not buying it, and it's getting worse.
Okay, yeah, I was not there today. I was trying to pull a pump out of my well. So I missed
another euphemism. Yeah.
No, actually. And so I didn't catch all the excitement. So were there people speaking out of turn, outbursts from the audience?
Yes.
And the like? There was.
Yes, there were. They're very frustrated. And Rika Brown's answer to all this is cut off public comment for everybody but Rika Brown, basically. And other people are saying, wait a minute, you guys aren't telling the truth. And because they get unlimited time during their protected time, they're speaking out during the protected time. Whoops. Huh? If you're going to take that time and denigrate people and make fun of what they've said and misstate what they've said and misstate what you've said, there's a possibility that somebody out in that audience is going to say, that's not correct. That's not right. Point of order. You can't call a point of order. Well, they should be able to, in my opinion, but the frustration levels are fairly high, and it signals to me the idea that these guys are on their way out. We'll see.